Some people believe that 3 a.m. is just another hour of the night. Others call it the devil's hour, a time when the world grows unnaturally quiet, when strange things happen, and when some doors should never be opened. Emma never believed those stories until the night she saw the smiling man. Emma was 17 years old and had just moved with her parents into an old house on the edge of a quiet town. The house was beautiful during the day. Large windows, wooden floors, a peaceful garden. It felt like the perfect place to start over. The neighbors welcomed them warmly, but one old woman living across the street said something strange before leaving. She looked directly at Emma and whispered, "Never look outside your bedroom window at 3 a.m. Emma laughed. She assumed the old woman was trying to scare the new family. She quickly forgot about the warning. She shouldn't have. The first few nights were completely normal. Emma unpacked her things, decorated her room, and started school. Life slowly returned to normal. Then, on the 7th night, she woke up suddenly. The digital clock beside her bed glowed. 3 a.m. Everything was silent. Too silent. Then tap. A single knock against the bedroom window. Emma sat up. She waited. Tap. Tap. Someone or something was outside. She walked toward the curtains. Her heart raced. Slowly she pulled them aside. Nothing. Just the empty yard, covered in moonlight. She sighed. It must have been a bird. She went back to sleep. The next night, it happened again. Exactly 3 a.m. Tap, tap, tap. This time, she immediately looked outside. Standing near the fence was a man. He was unusually tall, almost impossibly thin, wearing an old black suit. His hands hung stiffly by his sides. His face was hidden by darkness. Emma blinked. The man didn't move. She closed the curtains. When she looked again, he was gone. The following morning, she told her parents. Her father smiled. Probably just someone walking home. Her mother agreed. There are no ghosts, Emma. But Emma knew. No normal person stands perfectly still for several minutes. 3 nights later, the tapping returned. She didn't want to look, but curiosity won. This time, the man had moved closer. He now stood halfway across the yard. Moonlight finally reached his face. Emma's blood turned cold. He was smiling. Not a friendly smile. Not a normal smile. It stretched far beyond his cheeks. His lips looked painfully wide, almost impossible. His eyes never blinked. Emma slammed the curtains shut. She locked the window, locked her bedroom door, and stayed awake until sunrise. At school, she couldn't focus. She searched online for stories about smiling strangers. Most were just urban legends. Except one. A story posted almost 15 years earlier. It read, "If you see a tall, smiling man outside your window at 3 a.m, never smile back." Emma froze. Someone had commented underneath. "He gets closer every night." The account had never posted again. That evening, Emma visited the local library. An elderly librarian noticed the newspaper clipping she was reading. His face became pale. "You've seen him." Emma slowly nodded. The librarian whispered, "They called him the Smiling Man. No one knows what he is, but everyone who keeps watching him eventually disappears." Emma asked, "How do I stop him?" The librarian looked down. "I don't know. Nobody ever came back to tell us." Emma barely slept that night. She covered the window with blankets. She pushed her desk against it. At exactly 3 a.m, the tapping returned, much louder. Bang, bang, bang. The entire window shook. Emma screamed. Her parents rushed upstairs. They threw open the curtains. Nothing. The yard was empty. Her father inspected outside. No footprints. No broken glass. Nothing. Emma began wondering if she was losing her mind. The next day, she noticed something terrifying. A photograph sitting on her dresser had changed. In the family picture, someone now stood behind them. The smiling man. Small, almost hidden, watching. Emma dropped the frame. The glass shattered. Night after night, he appeared in more places. A reflection in the television, a shadow in the hallway, a figure standing behind trees, always smiling, always watching. One rainy evening, the electricity failed. Darkness swallowed the house. Emma lit a candle. Then she heard footsteps upstairs, slow, heavy, deliberate. Her parents were asleep downstairs. The footsteps stopped outside her bedroom. Silence. Then 3 slow knocks. Knock, knock, knock. She didn't answer. The doorknob slowly turned, but the door remained locked. After several seconds, the footsteps faded away. The next morning, deep scratches covered the outside of her bedroom door. 5 long marks, as though someone had dragged razor-sharp fingernails across the wood. Her parents insisted the house had settled during the storm. Emma knew better. Days became weeks. Emma stopped sleeping. Dark circles formed beneath her eyes. She became afraid of mirrors, afraid of windows, afraid of darkness itself. Then one night, the tapping never came. Instead, she heard breathing, right behind her. She slowly turned around. No one. Then she looked towards the mirror. Standing directly behind her reflection was the smiling man. She spun around. The room was empty. When she looked back at the mirror, he was gone. Emma realized something horrifying. He wasn't trying to get inside anymore. He already had. Exactly 1 month after she first saw him, the clock struck 3 a.m. No tapping, no footsteps, just silence. Then her bedroom door slowly opened by itself. Standing in the darkness was the smiling man. Closer than ever before. His smile stretched wider than humanly possible. He took 1 slow step forward, then another. Emma couldn't move, couldn't scream, couldn't breathe. The room grew colder. His voice, soft and broken, finally spoke. "I found you." The lights went out. The next morning, Emma's parents opened her bedroom door. The room was empty, her bed untouched, her phone still charging, the window still locked from the inside. Police searched for months. No clues, no fingerprints, no footprints. Emma simply vanished. Years later, a new family bought the old house. Their teenage son moved into Emma's bedroom. On his 7th night there, he woke suddenly. His bedside clock read 3 a.m. Then tap, tap, tap. He slowly walked toward the window, pulled the curtain aside, and saw a tall man standing beneath the moonlight, wearing an old black suit with an impossibly wide smile. If you ever wake up at exactly 3 a.m. and hear someone tapping on your window, don't look, because once the smiling man sees your face, he never forgets it.
Imagine waking in a tent on a frozen mountainside with 8 of your closest companions. You are experienced. You are equipped. You have survived brutal winters before. Then, in the darkness, something makes all 9 of you abandon your boots, coats, food, and shelter. The exit is too slow, so the tent is cut open from the inside. You step into a blizzard, some wearing only socks. None of you returns alive. This is the Dyatlov Pass Incident. In January 1959, 10 hikers from the Ural Polytechnical Institute began a demanding ski expedition through the northern Ural Mountains. Most were students or recent graduates, and all were experienced winter travelers. Their leader, 23-year-old radio engineering student Igor Dyatlov was known as careful, inventive, and dependable. Completing the route would help the group qualify for Grade 3, the Soviet Union's highest hiking certification at the time. On January 28, Yuri Yudin's health failed him. Pain from a chronic condition made continuing impossible, so he turned back while the others pushed deeper into the wilderness. He watched his friends disappear along the trail. Yudin was not a survivor of the night on the mountain. He was never there. But he became the only member of the original 10-person party to return home. On February 1st, worsening visibility pushed the group off course onto the eastern slope of Kholat Sakal. Instead of descending to the forest, they cut a platform into the snow and pitched their tent on the exposed mountainside. Their cameras and diaries suggest an ordinary evening. Sometime during the night of February 1 into February 2, that ordinary camp became an emergency. No one lived to describe what happened next. The physical evidence tells us only this: the tent was damaged, and cuts were made through its fabric from within. Whatever the group believed was happening, they chose immediate evacuation over dressing for the cold. That decision does not necessarily mean blind panic. Their later actions suggest a desperate but organized attempt to survive. Footprints led downhill toward the forest, roughly 1.5 kilometers away. Some tracks were left by socks, a single shoe, or bare feet. The trail did not show an obvious stampede. The hikers appeared to have moved together into darkness, wind, and temperatures far below freezing, leaving behind the equipment that could have saved them. The group expected to send word after returning around February 12th. Delays were not unusual, but families eventually demanded a search. Students, soldiers, pilots, and volunteers entered the mountains. On February 26th, searchers found the group's tent, partly collapsed, covered with snow, and empty. Inside were boots, outer clothing, food, maps, cameras, and personal belongings. Investigators determined that at least some of the slits had been cut from inside. There was no clear evidence that another person had approached the camp. The central question was unavoidable. What danger seemed so immediate that 9 trained hikers left their only shelter without proper clothing? Searchers followed the tracks toward the trees. Beneath a large Siberian cedar, they found the remains of a small fire and the first 2 bodies, Yuri Krivonishenko and Yuri Doroshenko, inadequately dressed for the cold. Branches had been broken several meters up the tree. Someone may have climbed for a view of the tent or simply gathered fuel. Between the cedar and the camp, 3 more bodies were found, including Igor Dyatlov. Their positions suggested attempts to return uphill. The original investigation concluded that 6 died primarily from hypothermia and 3 from fatal injuries. It found no guilty party. The case was closed with a famously vague phrase: the group had been overcome by a compelling natural force. In a secretive Soviet system, that ambiguity became fertile ground for suspicion. For decades, theories multiplied. Infrasound, violent winds, a secret weapons test, an attack, even UFOs. None has produced convincing evidence of another person or a paranormal cause. In 2020, a new Russian review concluded that an avalanche was the most likely trigger. A peer-reviewed 2021 study proposed a specific mechanism. The hikers cut into the slope, combined with wind-deposited snow, may have released a delayed slab avalanche. Computer modeling showed that a compact slab could produce injuries resembling those recorded in the autopsies, while leaving limited traces weeks later. The model does not reconstruct every moment, and its authors did not claim absolute proof, but it offers a physically plausible chain of events. In that scenario, the group escaped a damaged or threatened tent, descended together to the forest, built a fire, and prepared shelter. Some tried to return for equipment. Others entered the ravine, where a fall or snow collapse may have caused devastating injuries. One by one, cold and trauma overwhelmed them. It is an explanation grounded in evidence, but without an eyewitness, the exact sequence cannot be known. The 9 hikers are remembered not as characters in a horror story, but as skilled young people who fought to survive an impossible night. The mountain may never reveal every detail, yet the evidence points less toward the supernatural than toward a chain of natural hazards, human decisions, injury, and extreme cold. If you value documented mysteries told with respect for the facts, subscribe for the next case.